staircase hip stretches. For this series of stretches, you'll need to position yourself in a staircase, and you are going to begin by stretching the hamstring and IT band. So for this, you will place your foot up on the highest level of stair that you can tolerate for your given flexibility. So you may find yourself at lower levels, but wherever you are for your flexibility, you put that foot up to what you can tolerate. And you should start to feel a stretch through the back of your leg, perhaps even into the back of the calf a little bit. You gotta make sure when you're doing this stretch that that bottom foot is turned in. The tendency is that it's going to turn out because the body always wants to take the path of least resistance, but we're trying to stretch what's tight. So you've got to make sure you become uncomfortable in the stretch to access that part. So internal rotation of the bottom of the foot, the top foot turns in slightly as well. From here, you'll just begin by reaching forward towards your foot, and you'll want to go as far as you can tolerate where you feel that 5 out of 10 tissue discomfort and stretch through the back. If you bring your toe towards your knee, you're going to feel an increased stretch in the calf. So I want you to just get comfortable with moving that foot while you're stretching the hamstring, because we always have to consider the joints above and below. So in a minute, we're going to look at what's going on above, but for now, we're just considering what's going on below the hamstring. And moving that ankle joint is going to help loosen off some tension through that hamstring. Once you've done about 10 pulses there, you're going to turn always towards the lead leg, and you're going to do what we call push and pull stretches. So here, you're going to push yourself away from the staircase with your bottom arm, and your top arm is going to be pulling you in towards the wall. You're going to take a few deep breaths in and out. And use your head, make sure you turn your head around so that your spine can rotate better while you're doing the spinal rotation portion of this stretch. As soon as you turn your spine around, you're going to feel a little bit more of an increased stretch happening on the outside of the leg. And utilizing the breath is the most important thing when doing these stretches, because the breath is the only thing we have that stretches us from inside out. And we want to make sure that we're breaking down any adhesions that are going on above the hip in the abdominal region. Once you've completed the hamstring stretch, you are now going to turn the toe out, and we're now going to access the inner thigh. What's going to happen here is the foot's going to turn in. We got to make sure that that foot's turning up. The other thing that's going to happen, and you want to make sure you pay attention to it, is this knee is going to want to pull in as well. And that's all because of tension that exists in the inner thigh. So make sure that that knee is tracking over your third and fourth toe, and that you're riding the outside edge of your foot. From here, I like to position my hand on the inside of my leg, and I drop my shoulder in, and that pushes my leg out. So when I go in for the stretch and I squat down, I'm getting a better stretch through here, and I'm not having to worry too much about what's going on with my bottom leg. Taking a few deep breaths in and out. And every time you exhale, you feel yourself dropping a little lower. You can add another rotation here where you push with the bottom arm and pull with the top arm. Here you're going to rotate that spine, working the breath again. And just reassess to see if that rotation gave you a little bit more flexibility through your inner thigh. Following the inner thigh, we're now making our way around the hip joint. So we're going to the front, the hip flexor. Here you're just going to go to the top of that foot, and what you're going to notice is your bottom knee is going to contact the staircase just below it, or below the foot, and you're going to hold on nice and tight on the railing and the wall until you're in a good position. That knee making contact with that staircase is going to offload some of the weight that you have to carry on that front leg so that it doesn't get too tired during this stretch. The focus here is to really drive the hip forward so you feel the stretch through the back of this leg here. So you want to squeeze the glute and push that hip forward. Once again, we're going to add that rotation. So now my bottom arm is pulling and my top arm is pushing. I'm trying to look for my foot behind me and using the breath. Once you finish that, you can come back here and see if that allowed you to go a little further, and it usually does. If it doesn't, go back and repeat some spinal rotation to see if you get a little bit more looseness in that hip flexor. The hip flexor, most people don't know or are unaware that it actually starts in the spine and then it inserts in the leg. So you've got to really hit the top part of it and the bottom part to get optimal flexibility out of that muscle. Once you've completed the front, we're now going to go into the glute. So the glute starts from the midline of the body around the tailbone, along the sacrum, and it comes all the way out and it ties up on the outside of the foot here, or the B flat here. When you come up here, you're going to pick the staircase again of your choice, whichever one meets your flexibility. And you're going to make sure that your leg is in line with the staircase. Once you find that position, the other thing you're going to want to do is kind of shimmy your foot back so that you find the level of tension that works for you, the level of discomfort. Always looking for that 5 out of 10 discomfort. And then you just go forward into what people most often know this stretch to be as a sleeping swan in yoga, but this allows you to achieve the swan without trying to do it on the floor for the very first time, because that can be a little bit too advanced for some people, especially if there's a lot of tension in the hip. Once again, with this stretch, we always have to consider what's going on in the torso. So you're going to do your push and pull again. Bottom arm pushes away, top arm pulls. Use the breath, always looking for that back foot. Make sure you look into your turn. Your spine will rotate better if you look into the turn. If your head is here and you're trying to turn your spine around, it's not going to work. So make sure you twist that whole spine around. Use the breath and push. Push and pull. And then reassess. What you'll notice is you probably get deeper into your sleeping swan. So start shimmying that leg backwards, the foot on the floor back, and then you'll end up noticing that your bum now is contacting that bottom staircase. And just take some time here to enjoy that new level of flexibility that you just adapted. Once you finish that, you're naturally going to repeat that series of stretches on your other side. I'm going to demonstrate what we're going to do with the foot and the calf by removing my shoe so that it's easier for you to see. With these series of stretches, I like to start with the bottom of the foot and then work my way up the back and the front. So here, it works really well on carpet, but you can also have wood flooring and do the same. You're going to take the back of your heel and you're going to put it on the edge of the staircase, and you're just going to shimmy the foot down, applying the amount of pressure that you can tolerate on the bottom of that foot. A lot of people have plantar fasciitis or tightness underneath the foot, and this is a great way to stretch all that out. And so I do a couple of those, and once I get to the point where I'm just before my knuckles, I am then going to go up onto the staircase, and you can position your foot up here or you can just let it hang depending on what's comfortable for you. And I'm going to let my heel hang down, which is now stretching the back of my lower leg. It's hard perhaps to see on the video, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bend the knee about an inch. It's very, very little, and then straighten it. But when I'm bending, I'm not lifting my heel up. I'm keeping my heel down, and I'm just bending and straightening, bending and straightening. And the reason I'm doing that is because there's two different sets of calf muscles. So when you bend that knee slightly, you're going to get to the bottom, and then when you have it straight, you're going to access more of the top. And you just hang there, bend, straighten, straighten. And then the front. This is important because if you don't access the muscle that starts here and comes all the way around the front and into the bottom, you might actually never get optimal flexibility out of the back. So you want to make sure you're focusing on that front. So this one is like a ballerina on point, and that's basically how the foot's going to look when it's positioned on the staircase. So you turn the toes, and if you get a cramp, much like I am, and most people will, just go back, do another stretch out, shimmy that foot, and then Try again. So here you're going to position the foot like I just showed you, and you're going to focus on straightening the leg out by squeezing the quad and then releasing it. Squeeze the quad and release. Squeeze and release. And you'll feel that whole area there stretching right up. After you've done that, I encourage you to go and check to see how much looser the back of your calf feels now. And once again, you'll repeat that whole sequence for the lower leg on your opposite side. And those are the hip stretches.